also expressed how much the trans community is taken for granted, basically not taken seriously, especially when they're needing care.
Mm-hmm.
Are they allowed to, on the death certificate, put the gender and the name that they wish that they could have put on there, or is it still legal?
Like medical examiners and coroners and things?
Yeah.
So, that's a really good question. So, in the state of Montana currently, we have no protections. There's no ordinances for that. So if, let's say, they were to find a trans person and like a trans woman, they would probably go off of genitalia and whatever was on the driver's license. Yeah.
No, I wish I put your name on.
Unless their next of kin were cool and were able to step in. Yeah. Anyone else have any thoughts? Did anyone? Oh yeah, sure.
That second solution that you had, which was like more of an in-depth, I can't remember what it's called.
The appointment of...
And you showed the New York one? Yes, does Montana have that?
No. Montana just has the My Choice Advance Directives. So states like New York, Texas, and just kind of a few other states, they have that form, whereas a lot of the other states have advance directives, and then some states have very little protection. They still have things like advance directives, but their advance directives are much trimmed down. They have less in there.
So with the advanced directives, if you were to fill in the state of Montana some very specific elements of that, would that be recognized in law? I know you're not a lawyer.
No, I'm not yet. No, I know. I'm not going to law school. No, that's great.
Not how you
Sorry, I just lost your question.
Yeah, if someone were to fill in some quite specific elements
Yes.
to mirror the New York one.
Thank you so much for reiterating. So, I would say that it would sort of depend on if the next of kin is going to try to contest it. If you have those things in there, it would also, I think, depend on who ends up being in charge of the funeral arrangements, if they are actually going to honor those things.
So, if a trans person makes those funeral arrangements, like with a specific funeral home, saying this is where the body's going after this, can that still be contested then, even if they've already made the arrangements ahead of time for their funeral?
That's a really good question. From my experience, I would say no. I would say that those arrangements have been made prior with that funeral home. However, if a family really wanted to contest it, if they really wanted to just go hard on it, I could see them potentially fighting it. As far as like what that looks like legally, I'm not entirely sure, but it's a good thing to know, and I'll definitely check it out. Yeah, thank you.
In a similar vein, what is the role you think the legal community can have in this, in terms of like helping people with advanced directives, or like knowing some more of those like really tricky questions about like what's the legal enforceability of those and the extent that is, because I'm not familiar.
I also think we're also at a stage where this is still fairly new. So I don't think that we exactly know what that looks like, because it hasn't been, publicly discussed very much. So I would say what the legal community can do is start to look at ways to come up with these protections. Think like bills that we can propose that have these ordinances and have these protections in them. So, things like I think we should have ubiquitous respect after death acts. I feel like those should be things that are in every state, and that would be like a good first step. But then as far as like what we can do with next of kin laws, that starts to get really dicey.
During your studies, have you noticed a lot of education, or starting to have a lot of education on the LGBTQI plus community?
No.
Okay.
That's my answer. No. No, they barely want to discuss green funeral homes at this point.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we're barely getting into the gender stuff right
Yeah,
now.
Ryan.
I know. I got this. So yeah, but yeah, no, I was lucky to be at a school in Pittsburgh where they were very conscious of working with an LGBT person. They've had trans students before, so I mean, it was still kind of hard sometimes to get them to use right pronouns and things, and I was only out to certain professors and things like that. But for the most part, it was a good experience. Now, if it had been a more rural school, I don't know if that would have been the case at all.
So I worked with a lot of kids in my time, and so there's been a decent amount that have been trans or in the queer community as a whole. I know that they're minors, so they always need a guardian or something to sign off on, and this is so morbid to think about, obviously, but what are the rights of children that are trans that want to have their rights in terms of their gender and everything being honored when they pass away?
That's a really good question.
As morbid as it hate to think
I know.
about.
I don't think there are any
Yeah.
at this time. I think that you have to be 18 or older to make those decisions. I mean, they could have it in writing somewhere, but as far as that actually being honored, and having it be a actually legal document, that's not the case. So yeah, that's a really good question.
They emancipate themselves. I don't know. There's so much.
Yeah, I believe if they emancipated themselves, then they'd be able to. But also, I'm not sure about that. Mary, did you have a question?
No, I was commenting on the money.
Oh,
Yeah, show me the money.
Show me the money.
Yeah.
15-year-old trying to do the emancipation.
All right. Is there anyone on the live stream who has any questions? Is anyone on the live stream?
I see the little icon.
I see something going on.
Yeah, it kind of cut out.
It cut out for a minute. Okay. That's okay. It's all good. All right. Well, I'm going to start finishing this off. I wanted to thank Andy Nelson, who's the executive director of the Western Montana Community Center. He couldn't be here tonight, but he did stop by to wish me luck, so that was really nice. And also to all my fellow board members at the center. They encouraged me to do these presentations, and I'm really excited about it, so I'm glad for the opportunity. Also, thanks to Imagine for hosting and having events like this, the Crucial Cause Nights. They're really important. I'm so glad that we can all come back together again and have these kinds of conversations. Also, the Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies program at the university. They're my alma mater, and especially Professor Elizabeth Hubble, who also couldn't be here tonight, but she's fantastic. And also to Sky Morgan, Quinn Reagan, and Tanner Crossman for allowing me to tell Krona's story, and by extension, their story. And here's a long list of sources if you want to, if you can even read them. So thank you all so much for